This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
We are journeying through history, hundreds and even thousands of years of history. And this year, 2017, is just a small part of the many years that have passed and will be coming. And we are here, this program, Journeys, Chronicles of Our Asian Century. We're here to chronicle this exciting time for Asia when it is on the rise again and will be the center of history, at least for the foreseeable future. At yung isang nangyayari po, one of the things that is happening in this year, for example, in particular, aside from the 600th year anniversary of the travel of the Sultan of Sulu to China, is the reopening of this cultural and intellectual ties of the Philippines and China. We have almost every week, every month, exchange of scholars, journalists, Filipino journalists going to China and vice versa, scholars coming to the Philippines. And this past few days, we were fortunate to cover one lecture or two lectures of two visiting scholars from Guangdong University for foreign studies. These are Mr. Zhou Fangyin, he is the director of the Center for Regional Strategies of Guangdong University for Foreign Studies, and of the Guangdong Institute for International Studies. Those are some still shots from the lecture, and Mr. Chen Hanxi, Guangdong Research Institute for International Studies. He is Deputy Secretary General of the GRIIS and Director of the Center for European Studies. The first topic of the day, this was at the UP Asian Center under the auspices of Professor Baviera, Miss and Professor Baviera of the Asian Institute. And the first topic was about the Chinese policy with regards to the South China Sea. Mr. Zhou discussed, his topic was between assertiveness and self-restraint. And the second topic by Chen Hanxi is about the relations of the U.S., China, and the Philippines. Overall, this provides us an understanding of China's South China Sea policies. I had an interview with both of them after their lectures, and let's watch this and pick up some of their thoughts on the relations with the Philippines and on the Chinese policy towards the South China Sea, the U.S., and international relations.
Welcome to the Philippines, Mr. Zhou and Mr. Chen, two scholars from Guangdong, China, who are today here at the University of the Philippines Asian Center to give a lecture on lectures on understanding China's policy towards the South China Sea issue and their understanding of Philippine-China relations and international relations. Mr. Zhou spoke on the China being in the midst of assertiveness and what's that other one?
Self-restraint.
And self-restraint. Mr. Chen spoke on the U.S.-China-Philippines relations and East Asia security. And so we have had a stream of scholars from China almost every month coming here. And you are both first-timers to the Philippines, so that will be my first question. What are your impressions of the Philippines today and the audiences that you have met and discussed with?
Yeah, it's very impressive. But this is the first time for me to come to Philippines, and it's out of my expectation that I do not know the Guangzhou and Manila is so close, just less than 2 hours time. It's near than the distance between Guangzhou and Beijing, and the people here they are very hospital, and the discussion is very heated, and we have exchanged our opinion thoroughly, and so I enjoy the process and the time here very much.
What changed in your perspective? In how you view the Philippines after this discussions that you've had?
Yeah, this is the first time for me to come to the Manila, and before I come here, I have no idea. The Manila is a so huge city and with so many people, and the economy they have. It's a very energetic city, and we can see the people they are on the street, and they are very in a good water, and they are very hardworking. So this is a different opinion, and then I have before I come here, and I think this is a city has a very promising future, and I never wanted we have so many people in the lecture and the presentation. So it say that it shows demonstrate that many local students they are interested in China, and this is very good for future development of Philippine-China bilateral relationship. I am confident on that.
Did you expect hostility before you arrived, and what did you face actually? How much did you face hostility from any people that you discussed with?
Yes, and we can say that people have many, very broad and deep understanding on the questions they are interested in, and we can exchange our opinion very freely and blunt and very frankly, and this will help me to personally to get a better understanding of what the Filipino they are thinking about the South China Security and the bilateral relation, and also the total Chinese foreign policy. So I think this is very hopeful. There's no doubt just for myself, and I think this will also be true for my colleagues from China, from Guangdong.
Okay, let's go over to Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen, I noticed that in your discussion and in all the discussions, there was no mention of the Asia pivot, which I think, of Obama, if you remember, the Asia pivot, which I think is a major factor in determining the perceptions and direction of Chinese policy towards the South China Sea and towards international relations. You remember Asia pivot? Pivot to Asia.
How do I?
This was not mentioned in your talk or in Mr. Zhou's talk.
We didn't talk.
It's not that important in your perception?
I don't think it is not important. As a matter of fact, it is very important.
Yeah.
Because in my speech, I talked about the relations between China and the US, the strategic competition. Yeah. Why these two big powers has this kind of competition? Because China has been rising, and the United States would like to do something to prevent this process, and it has used its military and diplomatic resources to do something to counter China's rising. That's why we have a competition between these two countries. That's why the pivot to Asia policy is important. What I was talking is that the pivot to Asia policy has not been so successful as many countries expected. That's my point.
And do you think Trump will still go back to the pivot to Asia, or he's leaving it behind?
I think the center point of pivot to Asia policy is that the East Asia is and will continue to be the most important region in the world, politically or economically and militarily. So I believe that President Trump's policy towards East Asia will maintain some characteristics of the Obama administration. It will continue to put importance on East Asia region, but it will return or pivot to Asia in a different way. What kind of way? We are observing. We are
still studying it.
Yeah, studying.
And as you said, you don't know how Trump will behave in the times to come.
Right.
So we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
You also made a very objective assessment of the Philippines as a small or medium power. And now you advise that small and medium powers in relating with big or great powers must be liberal and flexible and be friends to all. Do you think the Philippines is exercising this as well as, let's say, I think Thailand has been doing it very well, Malaysia has been doing it very well. How is the Philippines faring in this practice of flexibility? What do you think?
I think the new president, Duterte, he is very clever. His policy is also very clever. As I said, middle power or small power should be very flexible, should make a good balance between big powers. And I think the new president has been doing very well. It should be friendly to China, to the US as well, and to Russia and Japan. So I think that if the Philippine government continue to adopt this kind of smart policy, foreign policy, it will be in the best of your country's national interests.
Well, that should be very instructive for Filipinos. And going to Mr. Zhou, your point about the problem of China between assertiveness and self-restraint. Do you think with this atmosphere under President Duterte, China will have an easier time to be self-restrained?
Nowadays, the situation has changed dramatically after President Duterte coming to power. So, in fact, we are facing an opportunity. This is very rare and it's not very happen certainly. So we should take full use of this opportunity at a time when President Duterte is at the leader of the Philippines, and we both sides we are going to have a very pragmatic attitude towards the hit points, and we are trying to do some cooperation in other fields, and so this will open the strategic space for the both bilateral relations and also for the regional security. And I think this is very important. And I agree with Professor Chen's remark that President Duterte's policy is to make friends with all the major powers and do not take a side decisively and do not to have a serious confrontation with any major powers. And this is very smart, and he have find many international space for Philippines. And in fact, this is a new landscape, new vision for the Philippines foreign policy, and this is good for the Filipinos' interests.
Okay, so thank you very much to our two guests, Mr. Chen and Mr. Zhou. As Mr. Zhou said, this is a new landscape for Philippine foreign policy, and thanks to President Duterte and his meeting with President Xi Jinping last October 2016, it seems we are looking forward to smooth sailing in the South China Sea. By the way, I must remind everybody that this is the 600th year of the travel of the Sultan of Zhou to China. And so we are just restoring this fraternal and warm relations of China and the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
very
Mr.
much. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have much time to analyze that, but in the next segment, I will ask our guest, Rod Kapunan, author and columnist of the Manila Standard, to give his reaction to this interview. Okay, let's take this break.